When They First Met by DireParsnip. Summary: Alex tells Barnaby about when they met Morgan. Barnaby washes some cups so they could make tea. Alex never called ahead. They probably didn't even know that was a thing. So how did you two meet originally? Originally? Man, that was a long time ago. Alex stroked her chin. Bronze Age, maybe? Or Stone Age. Morgan was roasting venison. That could have been any time. What do you mean Stone Age? Yeah, you said originally. Did you mean this lifetime? No, no, start at the beginning. Yeah, Morgan was roasting some dinner. Cute as a button. They threatened to fight me for it. I mean, how cute can you get? That was one of the best lifetimes had I've ever had. I lifted huge stones for them to build these geometric shapes. Not sure why, but there wasn't much to do back then. Then they died, of course. I ran back time and tried to save them, but I couldn't. So I had us reincarnated together in every life after that. It takes me a while to find them each time, but that's half the fun. How long does it take you to get together normally? What do you mean? I mean, do you get married in every lister for tax evasion and refuse to tell each other your feelings? Oh no, don't be silly. Oh good. This is the first life we've ever been married. Barnaby gripped the counter. Are you telling me you've lived thousands of lives and never said I love you to each other? Yeah, you gotta take time with romance, you know. Nobody takes time with romance anymore. Most people don't have thousands of lifetimes to tuck around. Barnaby realized they were grinding their teeth and relaxed their jaw. You've got a point. You're making tea or what? I can and I will. Buy ariescheese. Morgan over a call. Hey Dave, how have you been? Dave. Hi, I've been good. Why did you call me? Morgan. Good. I just want to let you know that I will kill you if you cheat on my sister. Dave laughed. Like you would try, let alone actually be able to. If anything, you just send Alex after me and say you killed me. Morgan. Who do you think inspired Diego? The same Diego that tried to beat Alex's ass? As far as being able to, I definitely can and I definitely will. I don't need Alex to wreck your shit. Dave as sassy as possible. Sure. Morgan. Alright, I'll show you then. They hung up and teleported Dave to them. Morgan knocked his lights out and curb stomped his ass when he hit the ground. Dave still down and bleeding a lot. Now I know your plan. It won't work a second time. Morgan. That is just one way I could use to kill you. All I used was my power and my limbs. I didn't even get into my crazy inventions and my skills with things like guns. Without your little shield and using the element of surprise, you're really pathetic. Dave. Cheetah. Morgan. I don't see how using the knowledge and tools at my disposal is cheating, but sure. I'm not above cheating to win a fight. Anyway, you're bleeding a lot from your head and should get to hospital. I don't want to rank up if I don't have to. They pulled out their phone and dialed the emergency number. Dave. How do you punch and kick so hard? Morgan. I have cybernetic fingers and don't care if I break my bones. I break my hand on Alex all the time. I have metal plates in my boots, so I can stomp and kick real hard. The emergency line answers. Hello? What is your emergency? Morgan. Hey, I found Lily USA on some street after Alex beat the brakes off him. The emergency line. Sending an ambulance to your location immediately. Morgan. Sweet, thanks. They hang up. Bye, Dave. Tell them where's Alex or I'll actually send Alex. Remember what I told you and what happened here before you go screwing around behind my sister's back. Sunscreen by ariescheese. Summary. Alex wants Morgan to wear sunscreen. Morgan. Are you still mad at me? Alex. Yes. Morgan. Okay. They went to leave. Alex. Aren't you going to ask what you can do to make it up? Morgan. I did ask, and you said that you were thinking. Alex. I'm done thinking. Morgan. Alright, what can I do to make up for what I did? Alex. You can wear sunscreen. Morgan. I do wear sunscreen. Alex. I've only seen you put on sunscreen when we were at the beach. Morgan. That's the only time I need it. Other than being at the beach, I'm not in the sun for long and I'm covered. Alex. No, you need to wear it every day, even in winter. And if you don't go outside. Morgan. Alright, fine. I'll get some from the store. Alex. Hold on. I got you one. I don't want you getting one of the crappy ones that have garbage SPF. They handed Morgan the bottle. Morgan took it. Thanks. I'll put this in the bathroom. Alex. Wait. Put some on now, so I can see if you're doing it right. Morgan. How can you put on sunscreen wrong? Alex. Just do it. Morgan groaned. Fine. Eating by ariescheese. Alex. Hey, Morgan? Morgan. Yeah? Alex. Have we ate today? Morgan. You ate and left no crumbs. Alex. I don't remember that, but okay. Did you eat? Morgan. No, I haven't ate. Alex. We should go eat then. Morgan. Oh, okay. One sec, I'll put on the only decent outfit I have. Alex. We don't have to go somewhere fancy to get food. Morgan. We're getting food? Alex. How else would we eat? Morgan. Oh, I see what's going on. Alex. I don't. Morgan. I thought you meant eating, not eating. You said the same exact word, except the first one had a little pizzazz. Morgan. It's a clock app thing. Alex. Okay, so did I eat? Morgan. You ate, but not food. Alex. Okay. Morgan. It's a compliment. Alex. Alright, thank you. What do you want to eat? I mean, eat in the food way. We should date by DireParsnip. Summary: Alex makes a move. I'm not dating anyone. Morgan rolled the dice and placed the piece. Are you on all the apps? I think there's a villains only one. No, I think we should date. Morgan looked up. What? I'm confused. You're so cute when you're dumb. My strategy is on point. What are you talking about? Nothing. You want kombucha? Sure, but not the kiwi one. It's gross and too many seeds. Kombucha in hand, Alex returned and made their move, brushing Morgan's hair out of the way as they rolled. You don't see it, do you? I'm 5 steps ahead of you. You're so toast. So you want to come lay on the bed with me? Morgan looked at the bed, then back to Alex. Their height and confidence permeated the room. Morgan took a step towards the bedroom. What a tantalizing thought. One night, thus. For one night, then horrible anguish as Alex slept with their next trophy. Morgan was still alive because they surprised Alex. She didn't swoon and objectify them, or Cato. But if they slept together, would Morgan be able to help but swoon? They would immediately get bored. That was a fate far worse than death. Morgan couldn't risk that. They realized they were frozen mid-step in Alex's living room. Alex gazed softly at them. How about the couch? Alex's toothy grin sent shivers of delight down their spine. Couch will be fine, they said, sliding a hand across the lower back. On second thought, I need to. Morgan fished around in the closet for their purse. Alex kindly helped them find their belongings and walked them to the door. Alex leaned in for a tasteful hug. Morgan accepted the hug and ran a hand down the curve of Alex's perfect figure. An involuntary groan escaped Morgan's throat. Mortified, Morgan slipped through the door and shut it behind them. In the quiet hall, Morgan could hear their heartbeat and heavy breath. It took a moment to regain composure. They pushed the button for the elevator. What are they doing? The most beautiful, most powerful being in the universe just hit on them, and they turned them down? Morgan turned around and lifted an arm to knock, but stopped themselves. You can't go back, Morgan told themselves. The mood is ruined anyway. Also, where is your self-respect? They returned to the elevator, then pivoted back towards Alex. The place where they had touched still glowed in her memory. The elevator dinged as it arrived. Morgan made the sign of the cross and prayed for strength, and stepped resolutely into the elevator. Why Alex Shops for Thanksgiving by Ariescheese. Summary: Morgan is too nice to shop for Thanksgiving, but Alex is really aggressive. Morgan's experience in shopping for Thanksgiving dinner. Morgan shops for Thanksgiving a couple days before Thanksgiving. Morgan got the last turkey. Old lady: Honey, do you think I could have that? Morgan: Yeah, here. They put the turkey in her cart. Old lady: Are you sure? Morgan: Yeah, ham is better anyway. Morgan had a couple cans of cranberry sauce in their cart. A kid: Hey, Mix, my mom sent me to get those. Morgan: You could take them. The kid took the cans. Thank you, Mix. Morgan in line: Someone with a lot more in their cart than Morgan. Can I cut in line? I'm running late. Morgan stepped back. Yeah, that's alright. Someone: Thank you. Versus Alex shopping for Thanksgiving. Alex shops the evening before Thanksgiving. Alex shoves people out of the way to pick corn out. Alex kicked a child out of the way to get a few pythons. Alex dropkicks people in line for a turkey in someone else's cart. Alex fistfights people in the parking lot for a bag of potatoes. Distraction by no one in particular. Summary: Alex is having some unpleasant thoughts and asks Morgan to distract him. Morgan distracts him a little too well. That's way heavier than I thought it would be, Morgan said, watching Alex intently. He didn't know why it was more than he expected. He'd known Alex long enough at this point that he should have known better. Alex leaned back in his napping chair as he spoke. Yeah. His focus shifting to the middle distance, somewhere above Morgan's head. It was hard to say if his gaze was unfocused, with the split pupils and all, but after a moment he seemed to come back to himself. Anyway, could you do something to distract me? Because if I keep thinking about this, I'm going to lose my mind, and I don't think that's going to be good for anyone. Yeah, okay. They could probably both do with a distraction after that. Morgan closed the distance to Alex's chair, but instead of stopping in front of him, he proceeded to climb into the seat, straddling Alex's lap. Alex's napping chair was an oversized, overstuffed monstrosity that didn't seem to fit anywhere in the apartment, no matter where Morgan stuffed it. So there was plenty of room for both of them. What are you doing? Alex all but yelped as Morgan's legs crowed into his own. He went completely still in his seat, save for his grip tightening on the armrests. The strength of it, of his desperate attempt to keep his hands to himself, threatening to tear the already worn fabric. His hands could very easily end up places they shouldn't if he wasn't careful. Places like Morgan's hair, or around his hips, or under his shirt. I'm doing what you asked, Morgan answered matter of fact. As he let his weight settle on Alex's thighs, he kept a hold of the back of the chair, boxing Alex in. Alex briefly wondered what he could have possibly asked for that resulted in Morgan sitting in his lap. The thought was quickly dismissed. It was taking up valuable brain space needed to memorize every detail of this moment. The heat of Morgan's body against his legs, the way the light shining through his dark, fluffy hair seemed to make a halo around his head, the tug of a lopsided smile at his lips. It required every iota of Alex's focus. He couldn't even remember what they were talking about before Morgan shadowed him. Part of him wished he could, so he might be able to duplicate this result in the future. When Alex only blinked dumbly at him for a few moments, Morgan's smile turned a little smug. This was definitely having the desired effect. "You're distracted, right?" Alex's eyes snapped back to Morgan's, away from his lips. He swallowed hard before answering. "You could say that." "Good," Morgan purred, leaning in closer. Alex stiffened, and he swallowed down a chuckle as Alex's breath caught. He was so easy to fluster, which was funny considering how disinterested in romance Alex was. He had people throwing themselves at him on a regular basis, but it never fazed him. Unless that person was Morgan. It didn't it didn't make any sense, but that didn't make it any less fun to rile him up. Alex was out of his league anyways, so even if he was open to that kind of thing, it wouldn't be with Morgan. He'd accepted that fact a long time ago. Morgan continued to slowly lean closer until his lips were nearly brushing his roommate's. Alex was still Alex was still as a statue beneath him. Morgan was pretty sure he'd even stopped breathing. He drew a slow, dramatic breath, ducking in closer to whisper into Alex's ear. "We've been trying to contact you about your car's extended warranty." The, t- the tension dropped out of Alex. His annoyed huff too loud in Morgan's ear, but he hardly cared. He slumped against his roommate, laughter shaking his shoulders. Morgan was lucky Alex loved him, or he'd be spitting out. Morgan was lucky Alex loved him, or he'd be spitting up his own teeth for the next week. He really did let the D-Tier get away with too much, but what could he do? It wasn't like he could start putting his foot down now, lest he drive the other man away. This was too much. Morgan probably didn't realize how thoroughly his teasing was breaking Alex's heart, how desperate it was leaving him. Alex hoped he didn't know what he was doing to him. The alternative was too painful. Having managed to mostly subdue his giggling, Morgan started to pull back, but Alex has let his focus on keeping his hand where they should be slip, so the urge to grab onto Morgan, to keep him close, won out before he could think. His hands darting to the places they so badly wanted to go before he could stop them. One wrapped around Morgan's back, stopping his movements. The other made it all the way to the nape of his neck, fingers sliding into his hair. Morgan froze as Alex's arms locked around him, his face so close to Alex's, their noses were almost touching. For a long moment, neither of them moved, waiting for the other to act first. Morgan tried to wait. He really did. The whole situation was just too intoxicating. The heat of Alex's body beneath him, Alex's hands on him in his hair, Alex's breath ghosting across his face. It was the kind of thing he didn't dare to dream about, and it was all too much to resist. Yes, he had started it, and now he was going to fucking finish it. Consequences be damned. He surged forward, his lips finding Alex's with unrestricted urgency. Alex responded in kind, his grip on Morgan tightening, his hand sliding farther into Morgan's hair, his small, surprised gasp lost in the other man's mouth, swept away by his eager tongue. Morgan pulled back suddenly, his normally unreadable face flushed and etched with panic. Uh, I'm sorry, Morgan stammered, scrabbling to remove himself from Alex's lap. It would have been going a lot smoother if his legs hadn't fallen asleep. He had accidentally kissed Alex before, but never so blatantly. What the fuck was he thinking, sitting like that in the first place? He was thinking he could press his luck again under the guise of a joke, but that really came back to bite him in the ass this time. Morgan, wait! Alex caught his hips, foiling his escape before he managed to get his dead legs in working order. Was that? Alex cleared his throat, looking away. Was that part of the distraction? Morgan opened his mouth but hesitated. Alex had given him an out. He could lie. Alex would believe him. Alex always believed him. The lie wouldn't leave his lips, not while Alex's face was twisted up with hope and fear in equal measure. No, Morgan answered softly. Alex's eyes snapped back to him. Then what was it for? Now it was Morgan's turn to avert his gaze. Isn't it obvious? I need to hear you say it, Morgan. Because He closed his eyes with a resigned sigh. This had to come out eventually. Because I have feelings for you. Like romantic ones. Alex had wanted to hear those words for so long, but it was still surprising how hard they hit him. For a moment, he thought his heart had burst in his chest. But it kept beating. Not that it really mattered if it did or not. He didn't need it to keep living. And I know you're not interested in that, Morgan added quickly. So can we just pretend this never happened, like the last few times, and forget about it? Forget about it? Alex demanded. Absolutely not. Morgan winced, curling in on himself. Alex, please, I'm sorry, it won't happen again. Please, just don't leave. He clamped his mouth shut, cutting off his frantic rambling. He was making it worse. I think you misunderstood, Alex murmured, reaching up to cup Morgan's cheek. His eyes popped open again, watching Alex with uncertainty. Allow me to clarify. He leaned forward, kissing Morgan gently on the lips, filling it with as much love and tenderness as he could. After a moment, Morgan's hands settled on his chest, fingers digging into the fabric of his shirt. Morgan's eyes fluttered open again once Alex finally pulled back. I don't think I got all that, he said a little breathlessly. Could you repeat it? Alex smiled and kissed him again. As many times as you want me to, by low_jinx. Summary. And the second the painkillers are out of your system, I'll kiss you as many times as you want me to. Alex placated their delirious spouse for tax reasons. Morgan's half-glazed eyes looked skeptically over at the unfamiliar Adnia sitting at their bedside. Really? Yes, really, Alex answered with patient consideration, knowing full well that for a sober Morgan the number of times would be 0. But what if I don't know how many times I want you to? Morgan's skepticism turned pouting. Alex smirked, but humoured the drug detail. Then you can just tell me when to stop. Okay, that chapter went the same. And the second the painkillers are out of your system, I'll kiss you as many times as you want me to. Alex placated the delirious spouse for tax reasons. Morgan's half-glazed eyes looked skeptically over at the unfamiliar Adonis sitting at their bedside. Really? Yes, really, Alex answered with patient consideration, knowing full well that for a sober Morgan the number of times would be 0. What if I don't know how many times I want you to? Morgan's skepticism turned to pouting. Alex smirked but humoured the drug detail. Then you can just tell me when to stop. Morgan nodded, a smile lighting up their face. I like that plan. They settled into silence for a brief moment before asking patiently, So, how long until these pain meds wear off? Alex gave the reclined patient a once-over and answered, At least another hour. Morgan frowned and went to cross their arms, but the various wires and tubing that were attached to them caught on the bed rails. The painkillers prevented them from registering that they had just tugged on their AV. They sighed, then complained, It's a long time. They toyed with their cords, freeing them from the bell rings and braiding them together. It's really not that long, Alex argued patiently. Yeesh, Morgan jokingly winced. I hope that's the first time either of us have said that to each other. Excuse me? Alex asked incredulously. I haven't had any complaints about my length. Morgan dropped the wires and flirted brazenly from under their half-closed eyelids, even as their words were still slightly slurred. And I'm hoping that holds true for both of us. Especially since we're married. Alex opened and closed their mouth a few times. Ahem. They cleared their suddenly very dry throats, but continued to stammer. I, uh, Morgan watched affectionately as they squirmed. Damn, you're even cuter when you're flustered. Their endearment turned to glee as a devious twinkle came into their eye. Tell me, Alex, are you, are you as good as you look? 'Cause I can't wait to have a taste. Alex's face cycled through several emotions before landing on one of restraint. Morgan, please. What? Morgan continued their drug-fueled teasing. Am I too much for you? We're married, aren't we? I mean, yeah, Alex huffed, trying to regain control of the situation. We are, but Morgan sat up and leaned towards them. Then what's the pro? Their aggressive flirtation was cut off by their eyes rolling back as they fainted from sitting up too quickly. Alex scrambled to catch them before they injured themselves further. When Morgan woke up hours later, painkillers having completely faded, if the throbbing in their throat and head and arm was anything to go by, they groaned at the memory of their embarrassing accident. Then they spotted Alex observing them warily. They slowly recollected the events leading up to their unintended nap. With their pride nothing but a distant memory, they decided they would capitalize on this offer. At least it would make them feel better. I'll take those kisses now, Morgan said expectantly. What? Alex blinked exaggeratedly as the scenario hit them. I'll take those kisses now, Morgan repeated. Alex failed to completely mask their excitement at Morgan doubling down, but they tried to keep their voice neutral as they said, I mean, if you want to. Get over here before I change my mind, Morgan complained, and Alex slipped into super speed to cross the distance instantly. They paused at Morgan's bedside, barely leaning over the edge. Morgan carefully sat up to meet them. They looked at Alex expectantly, then closed their eyes. Alex nervously pressed a kiss to their forehead, and the corner of Morgan's mouth quirked up into a smile. They kept their eyes closed, but complained good-humouredly. Know what I had in mind? A blush tinted the S-Tier's cheeks, and they warily kissed Morgan's cheek. When Morgan continued to sit there, expectantly, eyes closed, Alex kissed the other cheek. But then Alex retreated, standing over them bashfully. Alex, Morgan said impatiently. Alex swallowed dryly and leaned in, placing a chaste kiss on Morgan's lips before retreating again. Still, Morgan did not move, waiting for the numerous kisses they had been promised. Alex's heart was beating out of their chest as they kissed Morgan again. Just another peck, but they held it slightly longer and didn't retreat as far away this time. When Morgan made no motion to end the endeavor, Alex kissed them again. Alex pulled away, paused a moment, went in for another peck. They repeated this cycle meticulously, never daring to do more until Morgan grew impatient. During yet another pause between kisses, Morgan opened their eyes just long enough to grab their spouse's face with both hands, closing them again as they pulled Alex in and kissed them intently. Alex's hands came to rest gently on Morgan's shoulders as they deepened the kiss. Morgan's hands slid into Alex's hair as they opened their mouth slightly, inviting Alex in. Alex took the opportunity to lick into their mouth, and Morgan hummed their approval. Alex tasted like shitty hospital coffee, and Morgan eagerly savoured the bitterness. The Lynns were so preoccupied They didn't hear the knock at the door, nor did they hear it open. "All right, Morgan," the doctor said loudly as he limped into the room, staring at the clipboard in his hands. The startled villains hastily separated. "You are officially stabilized, so you are free to go." He looked up at the flushed pair, spaced at a suspicious distance, and decided he had more important things to discuss, so he continued his monotonous instructions. "Disinfect the stitches twice daily, take your antibiotics for the full 2 weeks, come back in if you experience any swelling or fever." Morgan nodded numbly. The doctor turned tail and left with a snarky, "You kids have fun." He paused with the door half closed and looked back with a warning. "But not too much fun. No strenuous exercise for at least 24 hours." He left the blushing villains to sit in embarrassed silence. After a moment, Morgan gathered the gall to face their spouse. "This never happened," they said definitively. "If my sister ever found out, she'd never let me live it down." Alex, forgetting that Diego still thought they were married for real, and that Morgan regularly made out with them in public as a foolproof disguise, wrongfully assumed Morgan was referring to the kisses, rather than the embarrassing near-death experience. They nodded solemnly. Found family by none in particular. Summary: Morgan realizes he had found the family he always wanted. "I do it for you," Alex insisted. "Like the amount of times you've fallen asleep during a stakeout, and I've just picked you up and put you in bed." "I thought you were teleporting me." "No, I've been carrying you in my arms." "I don't know if that's more or less weird than teleporting," Morgan said. "I think I need you to stop doing that." "Do you actually want me to stop, or is this like the snuggle radius thing?" Alex asked, starting to unbuckle Hawk from its car seat in the camper van. "Actually stop." Morgan wanted to snap, but the words caught in his throat, because he didn't want Alex to stop. He just couldn't stand the thought of appearing weak, needy. He had to be self-sufficient, even if all he really wanted was to be cared for, to be loved. Alex finished unbuckling Hawk, gently lifting it out of the van. It chittered softly, instinctively snuggling against his chest in its sleep as Alex cradled it. He watched the fluffy little bug-like creature settle in his arms with a look of such tender affection it made Morgan's heart clench, his mind filling with the still raw memory from a few nights ago. "So you're saying you, me, and Hawk are our family?" "Yeah? Does that mean I have a family that loves me?" "Yeah, you do." "Can I have a hug?" "Of course you can." Alex had said something else about going to sleep or not wanting to stay awake or something, but Morgan hadn't really been paying attention at that point, and Alex had let the matter go as Morgan crawled into the bunk with him and all but collapsed onto his chest. He hadn't said much of anything after that, save for a few murmured comforts as Morgan tried to keep his sobs quiet enough not to wake Hawk as Alex held him. "You coming?" Alex called, snapping him out of the memory. He was about halfway to the elevator, looking back over his shoulder. Morgan closed the van door and hurried to catch up with him. As they stepped off the elevator at their floor, Alex shifted his hold on Hawk, taking the keys out of his pocket. Hawk chittered again, and they both went still, waiting for it to settle before finishing their handoff. Morgan unlocked the apartment door, letting them both in, closing and relocking it before following Alex towards Hawk's room. Alex strode through the oozing, gore-coated space as easily as if the fleshy mounds covering the floor were plush carpet. Morgan lingered in the doorway, watching Alex pull open the pulsing kangaroo patch-like growth on the wall that served as Hawk's bed, and nestle it gently inside. He backed away from the room before Alex could catch him watching. A few hours later, Morgan passed by the door to Alex's room, finding it finding it left partly open. Peering inside, he spotted Alex reclined in bed reading, glasses perched on the end of his nose. After a moment's hesitation, he entered the room. Alex looked up from his book as Morgan climbed into bed beside him. He even lifted his arms, giving Morgan better access as he tucked himself against the other man's side. He waited until Morgan was mostly settled before asking, "What are you up to?" Morgan rested his head on Alex's shoulder, finding a position that was comfortable but wouldn't interfere with his reading. Reaching the snuggle radius? Alex only hummed an acknowledgement in reply and turned his attention back to his book. Morgan let his eyes fall closed, listening for the sound of a turning page before speaking again. "Alex?" he whispered, not opening his eyes. "Hmm? You really love me?" "I've only been saying so for years," Alex snorted. "Nice of you to finally notice." But actually though, he wasn't sure what he was trying to ask. Something that would get him an answer that would make it feel real. Feel like more than a hollow gesture. There was a sound of rustling paper as Alex shifted beside him. "Of course I do." Fingers brushed his cheek, tracing down to lift his chin. "Morgan, look at me." Tentatively, Morgan opened his eyes, meeting Alex's beautiful golden gaze. Alex brushed his thumb along his jaw as he spoke. "I love you, Morgan. I love our life together. I love raising Hawk with you. Every day that you're with me is better for us. I love you." Morgan tried to swallow past the tightness in his throat, tried to blink away the tears stinging his eyes and blurring his vision. He tried to take a breath to steady himself, but it shook and stuttered. Alex shifted his hold on him, pulling Morgan more fully against his chest. "I love you," Morgan sobbed. "And I love Hawk, and I'll never let it know what it feels like to doubt that." "Hawk loves you too." Alex's arm tightened around him. "And it knows how much you love it." He grit his teeth, trying once again to get control of this breathing. It still came out stuttering and choked with sobs. "Dad?" asked a timid little voice in his mind, its fear and confusion coming through across the telepathic link. Morgan jumped, pulling away from Alex enough to look over at the open door. Hawk stood at the doorway, kneading a soft pink blanket between the three-clawed hands of its second set of arms. He turned away, quickly swiping at his eyes before facing Hawk again. All the while, Alex kept his hold on him, loosening his grip only enough to let him turn partly towards Hawk. "Hey, baby bug," he said, desperately trying to sound like he hadn't just been crying. "I'm okay. I am. I just. Did you have a bad. Did you have a bad dream too, Dad?" "Something like that, yeah." He cleared his throat, glancing at Alex and back again. "Do you want to come lay with us for a while, buddy?" Hawk's relief radiated across the telepathic link as it skittered forward with unnatural speed, crawling up over the footboard to wriggle its way between them, wedging itself against Morgan's chest and Alex's stomach. "Ew, a bed bug," Alex pretended to protest as he hugged both Hawk and Morgan tighter. "Guess I'll have to squish it." "I'm not a bed bug," Hawk giggled, its strange alien giggle, like clawed fingers digging into Morgan's shirt. "Dad, help! Don't let Papa squish me." Morgan curled tighter around Hawk, a smile coming to his lips despite the titan's lingering in his throat. "Don't worry, Hawk. I'll protect you." Hawk giggled again, burrowing deeper against his chest as he held it closer. He let his head rest on Alex's shoulder again. If they were willing to be his family, he would protect both of them with everything he had. No one dies in a death trap. By none in particular. Summary. No, I'm not reading the summary because it's the same as last time. Why are you covered in blood? Alex asked, gesturing to Morgan as they looked him up and down. That's usually my thing. If he was holding out on telling them about some gory battle they had just won, Alex was going to be pissed. Mostly because they didn't get to watch. Oh yeah, Morgan said, looking down at their tattered and stained clothes. It's mine. It's fine. Oh, okay, they replied, turning their attention back to the TV. Guess they didn't miss much after all. Morgan stood silently in the front room as if he had lost track of what he was doing. After a moment, he started wandering away towards his bedroom, looking a little off balance. That was a little odd, but blood loss will do that to a person, especially one without a healing factor. Wait, what? Alex shouted, jumping up from the couch. They chased after him, catching up as he was shuffling through the bedroom door, stiffly pulling off his flannel overshirt. As he did, they could see the large gash along his side, peeking through the ripped undershirt. Morgan, what the fuck? Alex said, their hands fluttering uselessly around their roommate. What happened? It's kind of embarrassing, Morgan answered, as he started to peel off his undershirt. As he raised his arm above chest height, he stopped, hissing in pain. Easy. They took a step closer, laying a hand over his. Let me help you. He hesitated a moment, but eventually nodded his approval. Carefully, Alex helped him slip his arm out of the sleeves of his uninjured side, pulling it over his head and down the other arm so he didn't have to lift it, tossing the ruined garment aside. They took a closer look at the wound. Thankfully, it had already been cleaned and sutured. Karen's handiwork, no doubt. That woman was prepared for anything. Who did this to you? Alex growled. I'll kill them. No, he replied, sounding exasperated. Why didn't you call me? It's really not that big of a deal. How is it not a big deal? They lightly laid a hand on Morgan's hip. He winced but didn't pull away. I already told you. It's embarrassing. Just let it go. Was it Rex again? Alex asked darkly. You're really not going to let this go until I tell you, huh? Alex raised an eyebrow, looking at him expectantly. Fine. Morgan let out a resigned sigh, pinching his forehead. So, you know how I've got an appointment with my new therapist tomorrow? Yes. Well, Gus and Karen were helping me break into her office and set up a death trap, and well, did you get caught in your own death trap? Alex asked flatly. Hey, I've suffered enough. I don't need your attitude. I knew these things were more dangerous than you let on. It's fine. I'm fine. No one dies in a death trap. Does bleeding to death once you get out not count? Alex, Morgan said with a frustrated groan. Fine, whatever. They turned their attention back to Morgan's injury. But shouldn't this be covered or something? I'm trying to get to that, Morgan protested. Go, sit down. I'll do it. Do you even know how to dress a wound? I've seen Grey's Anatomy. Morgan rolled his eyes, easing herself down onto the edge of the bed. Alex snapped their fingers, summoning gauze pads and a bandage. They grabbed Morgan's desk chair, wheeling it over to the bedside and sitting down. Setting the supplies down beside Morgan, they pulled the handle under the seat, letting the chair sink to its lowest height, so they were closer to eye level with his injury. Once they were situated, they began unwrapping a gauze pad, carefully placing it over part of the wound. It didn't cover the entire gash. They would need another. All this, Alex said, glancing up at Morgan. He started to raise his arm, but flinched again, reaching around with the arm on his good side instead. Once he had it secured, Alex quickly unwrapped another pad and covered the still exposed section of the wound. They held the gauze gently in place as they grabbed the bandage, struggling for a moment as they tried to pull close the end of the roll and hold the pad in place at the same time. Finally, they got it started, rolling the bandage around Morgan's back with one hand, while the other held the end in place, slowly working their way around his torso until they reached the other gauze pad. Morgan carefully slipped his hand out of the way as they continued. Once they had finished their first wrap, Alex pulled the end of the bandage a little tighter, making sure it was snug before tucking the loose end under the roll. Not so tight, Morgan complained. Don't be a baby, they chided, but still loosened the wrap. It was much easier to finish bandaging Morgan up once they were able to use both hands freely. Alex was careful not to let their wrapping get tighter as they went, though he accused them of it anyway. Once the bandage was secure around his torso, Alex helped Morgan into a clean t-shirt and a pair of loose sweats. Together, they made their way back to the couch, picking up in the middle of the show Alex had been watching earlier. You're watching Pride and Prejudice again? Morgan said dramatically. This is Bridgerton, Alex protested, equally dramatically, ignoring the fact they had also watched the show enough times to know all the lines by heart. It's still boring. This one has a mystery in it. Morgan was quiet for a moment, before settling back on the couch. Alright, fine. They didn't even make it through an entire episode before Morgan was asleep, flopped over with his head resting on Alex's leg. They laid their hand on his shoulder, very grateful that no one died in a death trap. It doesn't hurt to ask, by none in particular. Alex shifted in place, trying to keep himself from pacing around the small entryway. Morgan would be home any minute, and then they would get their answer. Their eyes drifted down to the slip of paper pinched too tightly in their fingers, reading the words hastily scrawled on it again. Are we friends because I accidentally mind controlled you? Below the note were two hand-drawn boxes, the first labelled no, the second labelled yes. They had read it over a dozen times by now, each time winding their stomach into tighter and tighter knots. With a sharp sigh, they folded the note in half. It wasn't possible, right? Mind control took focus, concentration. Surely it wasn't something that could be done without noticing. Even the most powerful mental manipulators still had to try. That was true of most atypical people. They had to try to use their powers. But Alex wasn't most atypical people. And it wasn't like they had never unintentionally used their powers and not noticed right away. A sharp snap pulled Alex out of their thoughts, attention moving to the splintered plastic in their other hand that used to be a pen. They had unintentionally crushed it, and that felt like a bad sign. It was so easy for them to slip up. They took a deep breath, letting it out slowly, and then flicked their wrist, dismissing the destroyed pen and replacing it with a new one in the same motion. They were always so careful around Morgan, though. That was when they were the most focused on control, and even then they slipped up sometimes. Yet Morgan was still their friend. That also felt like a bad sign. Alex loved Morgan. The last thing they wanted to do was force them into something they didn't want. That's why they stayed focused on just being their friend. Finally, the door rattled as Morgan shoved the key into the lock. They hardly had time to set down the keys and bag as Alex charged up to them, thrusting the pen and paper into Morgan's hands. Alright, take this, Alex ordered, and when you get to the eternity area, open it up and answer the question. Morgan quickly looked up from the item forced into their hand. When I get to where? The eternity area. Morgan's dumbfounded expression reminded them that the other villain had never been there, and they would need a quick rundown of the basics. Note, no powers work there, and there are giant monsters that will try to kill you, but I'll bring you back before they can. Morgan's grip on the note tightened as Alex babbled, their voice high-pitched with panic as they asked the obvious question. Why? Everything you need to know is on that paper, Alex insisted and snapped, sending Morgan away before they could ask any more questions. Alex stared at the empty space their best friend had been for a moment, before taking a breath. Okay, Alex muttered to himself. The timing had to be just right, long enough for Morgan to read the note and check the box, but not long enough for them to get overwhelmed by monsters. That's probably long enough. They snapped again, and Morgan reappeared in front of them, breathing hard, half frazzled, and the note crumpled into a ball in their fist. They slowly lifted their hand to look at Alex, eyes burning with fury. You stupid motherfucker, they growled. No, I'm not friends with you because you accidentally mind-controlled me. They threw the crumpled paper ball at Alex's face. Alex hardly noticed the projectile amid the relief washing through them. It bounced harmlessly off their forehead as they let out a heavy sigh. Oh, thank God, they breathed, putting a hand over their chest. Wait, where's my pen? Last I saw it was in the eye socket of a crocodile worm monster, Morgan panted before stomping away. Alex chuckled to himself, highly amused by the mental image of Morgan stabbing a pen into the eye of a crocodile worm monster. I guess my timing was a little off, they mused as they plucked the wadded-up note from the floor. The top half of a marked box was visible among the folds. A smile tugged at the corner of Alex's mouth as they started to smooth out the paper. Maybe they keep this as a reminder that. Cold shock hit Alex in the chest, harder than any punch the credible bulk could throw, heart leaping into their throat as their stomach dropped to their feet. Morgan had started to write something on the bottom of the note. Please let. Alex didn't need the rest of the words to understand the message, because right above them was a marked box labeled yes. Oh no! Red Bull Gives You Wings by None in Particular. Summary. Alex comes back from a trip to space to find Morgan has mysteriously grown a pair of wings. Alex appeared in the hallway just outside the door to Morgan's apartment. Morgan hated it when he teleported directly into the apartment. Something about not wanting to be jump scared in his own home. So Alex fished the one and only key he carried, thoughtfully attached to a Taylor Swift keyring by Morgan, from his pockets and unlocked the front door. He shoved the door closed behind himself, dropping his key onto the little table beside the door. Turning, he took 2 steps, then froze in his tracks as his eyes landed on Morgan. He was sitting with his back to the door, hunched over a project at the small dining table. His chair flipped backwards, so he was leaning over the backrest as he worked. None of that was out of the ordinary. The fact that he was shirtless wouldn't even have been that surprising if it wasn't for the massive, elegant white wings extending from his back. Hi, Morgan called, attention not leaving his project. How was space? Space was. Alex took a few more steps towards his roommate. Was fine. Morgan's wings sat casually folded against his back, the bone-white feathers appearing almost radiant in the dim-lit apartment. They trailed down past the seat of the chair, the long feathers on the tip of each wing barely brushing against the hardwood floor as Morgan worked. Did anything happen while I was gone? Alex prompted, stepping closer still. Morgan's head pulled up a little as he thought. No, not really. Alex closed his eyes, pinching the bridge of his nose. Growing a pair of fully developed wings, feathers and all, apparently didn't qualify as noteworthy in the DT's opinion. He had only been gone for 3 days. What the fuck had Morgan been up to? Alex took another step towards Morgan. Are you sure about that? Oh, yeah, I almost forgot, Morgan said, still not turning around. That book you ordered, Kim? I put in your room. Under different circumstances, Alex would have been very excited by the news. But right now, he was far more concerned about what was happening with his best friend. Now that he was closer, Alex could see a faint, almost luminescent blue running along the outside edge of each feather, making the wings seem even more otherworldly. Nothing else? He prompted again, one hand starting to extend towards Morgan. Morgan was quiet for a moment, thinking before he answered. I mean, I had that job this weekend, but it was pretty uneventful. Alex and Morgan had very different definitions of uneventful. Alex reached the rest of the way out, his fingers grazing over the pristine white feathers Morgan seemed so keen to ignore. Morgan jumped, the wing under his fingers jerking away in surprise. Finally, the other man looked back over his shoulder, his wings puffing up and fluttering briefly before settling against his back again. Nothing worth mentioning, huh? Alex said. When the fuck did you grow wings? It's not a big deal, Morgan answered, awkwardly climbing off of his backwards chair. I don't think they're permanent. How is growing an extra set of limbs not a big deal? You do it all the time. I'm a shapeshifter. They're just from the Red Bull, Morgan huffed, crossing his arms. You know the slogan, Red Bull gives you wings? Did you drink your millionth can and finally earn a pair? Morgan started to say something, then paused. I didn't think about that. I assumed it was the weird case I found at the abandoned bottling plant this weekend. Alex took a deep breath, letting it out on a sharp sigh. Please tell me you didn't find a case of a Red Bull sitting in a glowing puddle or some shit in an abandoned bottling plant and then decide to drink one. I'm not an idiot, Alex, Morgan protested, an edge to his voice. It was a dark room with a single spotlight shining down in the center. That's the same thing, Alex snapped. No, it's not. Glowing puddle means contaminated and dangerous. A spotlight means safe and useful. None of that is true. These were super useful. Morgan's wings flared outward a little as he spoke, giving Alex a glimpse of how massive his wingspan was. It's how I got away from the Conundrum Corporation. Morgan's job at the abandoned bottling plant was the same night he left the space. You've had those for 3 days? Yeah, so? Morgan, I think they're permanent. They should wear off by the end of the week. How do you know that? Morgan just shrugged. Hey, how come you never told me how much fun flying is? A smile tugged at the corner of Alex's mouth, despite his frustrations. It's pretty great, right? Want to go fly around and steal satellite dishes? Morgan grinned. Why satellite dishes? I need some for a project. Alex shook his head, a smile coming fully to his face. Yeah, that sounds fun. Vikings Funeral by noneinparticular. Summary. If this counts the anniversary hostage negotiation, it will only be by extreme technicality, but I figured LH would prefer a vaguely on theme fic to no fic, so here we are. Alex helps Morgan fake his death for a life insurance scam. I swear it isn't as I swear it isn't as morbid as it sounds. Alex appeared in the emergency room lobby, Morgan leaning heavily on them. They helped him walk to the check-in desk with an arm around his waist. The nurse behind the desk eyed them both warily, but her attention quickly settled on Morgan as she took in his condition, barely standing and practically gasping for breath. How can I help you? She asked. My chest hurts, Morgan panted. The nurse started typing urgently at her computer. Name? Morgan Sterling, Alex answered. The nurse's eyes darted to them for a brief moment before she went back to typing. Almost immediately, Morgan's name was called from the other side of the room. The nurse hadn't even managed to fasten the ID bracelet around Morgan's wrist yet. She flinched as Alex snatched it from her hand and began to guide Morgan towards the back of the room. The man waiting for them went pale as he spotted Alex all but dragging their spouse towards him. They suppressed a smirk as they noticed him visibly shaking. "Follow me," he stammered, turning to lead them farther into the hospital. He led them to a small room that had some large medical devices standing beside a single hospital bed. They glanced down at Morgan, who met their gaze and winked. Alex forced himself not to smile. "Showtime." Morgan climbed into the stiff mattress, flopping back dramatically as if the task had exhausted him. The technician quickly began hooking him up to the machine, pulling down the collar of his shirt to place some kind of sticky pads on his chest. Reveling, re- re- reviling the wedding band on the chain around his neck. The technician paused when he spotted it, then glanced over at Alex. They crossed their arms impatiently, allowing their own ring to be visible. Swallowing hard, the technician went back to setting up the test. As he started attaching a bundle of multicolored wires to the pads on Morgan's chest, Alex forced their will over the machine. As soon as the final connection was made, the machine started beeping, fast and erratic. "Is it," Morgan said through laboured breaths, "supposed to sound like that?" The technician looked even more pale as he looked over his shoulder at Alex again. They narrowed their eyes at him, and they were pretty sure he was about to faint. He mumbled a string of incoherent sentences as he backed towards the door, breaking into a full sprint as soon as he was out of sight. A smile finally broke out over Alex's face as the man fled. They walked up to stand beside Morgan, who was barely holding back laughter. "I thought that guy was gonna piss himself," he said quietly. "I'm a little surprised he didn't," Alex replied. The sound of running footsteps began to come from the hall. Morgan grinned up at them. "Grand final," he said excitedly. He clutched theatrically at his chest before falling limp, head lolling to the side and tongue sticking out of his mouth. "And people say I'm dramatic," Alex scoffed. Morgan smiled again and took up a more reasonable pose. Alex readjusted the rhythm of the machine again, sending it into a frantic alarm. A group of nurses came rushing into the room. They all came to a dead stop as Alex looked over at them. "Do something!" they demanded, voice despite desperate but forceful. The nurses snapped out of their stunned state and into action, crowding around the bed. "He's not breathing," one of the nurses called. Alex flatlined the machine. "He's crashing!" called another, rushing to grab the defibrillator. The other nurses scrambled around, making room. One yanked up Morgan's shirt as the other got the prattles ready. Alex forced his will over the device, reducing its payload to the equivalent of a static shock. "Clear!" There was no effect, obviously. That's how they wanted it to look. The nurses repeated the process a few times, but after a few minutes, their urgency faded and they began to pull back. "Why are you stopping?" Alex demanded. All the nurses remained quiet, staring at the floor. Eventually, one of them got up the courage to speak. "I'm sorry," he said meekly. "He's gone." They all flinched as the building began to shake and the lights began to flicker. They took a step towards Morgan, and all the nurses scrambled out of their way. Gently, he picked up Morgan's limp body and cradled him to their chest. "You're useless," Alex growled, then vanished from the room. Alex appeared in their lavish personal quarters at the Antarctic base, Morgan cradled in her arms. They began making their way towards the large bed. "And the award for the best performance goes to what?" Morgan let out a surprised cry as Alex tossed him unceremoniously onto the bed. "Is that any way to treat your poor deceased husband?" he chastised, laying a hand dramatically across his forehead and sprawling out on the bed. "I'm pretty sure all corpses can't talk," Alex teased. "At least none of the ones I've made could." I suppose you are the expert. Morgan rolled onto his stomach, propping his chin up on his hands. I still don't know why. I still don't get why I couldn't be the victim, Alex said, flopping down next to him. The payout would have been much higher. Because if I drug, sorry, because if I drag, because if I drug your sorry ass into the hospital and demanded they save you, they would laugh in my face. Alex frowned. I could die of natural causes if I wanted to. I know that, Morgan said, moving to lay across Alex's chest. But as far as everyone else knows, you, he poked their nose, are immortal. Alex wrapped their arms around his back, pulling him closer. All the more reason to prove them wrong. Fine, the next time we commit insurance fraud, you can die. Thank you. Morgan laughed, bending to give them a quick peck on the lips. So, what are you going to do for my funeral? Alex scoffed, tossing him back onto the bed and sitting up. Come on, Morgan protested. It's part of the scam. Alex rolled their eyes, huffing a sigh. How about I set you adrift on Lake Superior and light your boat on fire? A Viking funeral, he said, sounding impressed. I'm honored. Alex's phone started to ring. They pulled it out and checked the caller ID. Why would Diego call? Why would Diego be calling? They ignored the call, tossing their phone aside. They immediately started ringing again. Who keeps calling? Morgan asked, shimmying over to look over Alex's phone. It's your sister, Alex said, grabbing the phone again. Fuck, you don't think the hospital called her, do you? She used to be my emergency contact. A wicked grin curled across Alex's face. They answered the phone, putting on their best distressed voice. Diego? I don't know what happened. He was fine this morning. Morgan made an attempt to snatch the phone from them. Alex batted him away, getting up and taking a few steps away from the bed. Alex, you better not be fucking with me right now, Diego said, panic in her voice. Would I joke about something like this? Alex spat. There was a loud creak from the bed as Morgan leapt off of it and landed on their back. He made another grab for the phone. Alex conceded it in favor of keeping him from falling and breaking it. Oh. Alex considered it a favor, keeping him from falling and breaking his neck. I'm fine, Diego, Morgan said into the phone before Alex could snatch it back. They could hear Diego yelling at her brother as he held the phone away from his ear. Alex managed to grab the phone back. They hung up and tossed it aside. That was entirely uncalled for, Alex said, tossing Morgan back onto the bed. What are you going to do about it? Morgan purred. In a movement too fast for Morgan to see, Alex was hovering over him. I'm sure I'll think of something. Morgan grinned, sliding a hand into Alex's hair as they bent to kiss him. Okay, so that is the end. I really wanted to make an hour-long video, so here you go. Well, I'm actually really curious if anyone will watch this. I saw a lot of you watched my the other one, the other S&D Tier one, and I really appreciate it. Like, I was expecting no one to watch it, purely because the fandom for it is so small. I know that one was like really short, so I figured, hey, I'll give you this one. Also, my brain is just really focusing on these characters right now, so getting to like read a whole bunch of really short ones. I think I got like 10 fics in here. I'm gonna count in a second because I'm gonna have to put the credits in the description. That'll be a very long description. Have fun checking that out. If you guys do watch this, I hope you now see like the reason I love these characters because they're so stupid and silly. If you want to see more, I put on a community post giving a link because the characters are originally from a TikTok series by Latas Raider. Super fun. It has like over 1,000 episodes and they're all like fairly short. Takes a while to watch all the episodes though, but it's great. Also, if this can get more people to watch that series because it deserves it, like seriously. Also, the fandom again is so small. No, you want to know the average amount of kudos for a fic? Last one, Vikings Funeral, 44. 44 cues, not 1,044, which is great. But like, geez. Oh shit, I'm rambling, aren't I? Yeah, no, this is like, 20 minutes. You guys can stand to listen to my voice for like a minute if you can listen to me talk for an hour at this point. Okay, I'm gonna give you guys another opportunity knocks video because I can, and I'm surprisingly not tired. Look at that! Look at me not being tired. I normally am. It's great. Oh, I haven't done my language thing for today. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna do that first, then record an opportunity knocks. And I was just meant to say goodbye, like a quick goodbye. Anyway, if you're still here, much appreciated. Thanks. Bye bye. Okay, wait, I'm so sorry. I'm back. Um, um, I want to think of a name to call you guys because hey, there's a bunch of you and like 2 people I think who regularly comment, which is great for me. Anyway, a name that popped into my head 2 seconds ago was Sundrops. Any ideas? Or Sundrops works because I think it's adorable because of the whole Katie and Sunshine. Anyway, okay, now actually, bye.